Hey guys, this is Wednesday's video. So as you can see here, we are just doing some peer editing. Your proposal is due tonight at 11:59 p.m. and we're going to be talking about concision again because if my feedback in your annotated bib is not an indication, I am definitely looking for you guys to be concise and basically on point with your wording. So let's look at discussion 8 just to make sure you know how to access that, and then we'll jump into our lesson for today. So in discussion 7, you should have posted the first paragraph of your proposal, and then I said wait until discussion 8 to respond. So the same thing here that we did in discussion 7 and in the annotated bib peer editing. So again, if I am Chase, I go into this feed and then I just hit reply, and I make a comment on Katie's draft, one thing that's working well, one thing for revision, Megan's paper as well, one thing that's working well, one thing for revision. Just make it clear who you're talking to. You guys have been doing a good job at this. So that is your only homework during the day, and that's due before 6 p.m. today. And then your proposal, your draft final for now of your proposal, which again, it's super short, 250 to 300 words. Cannot say that enough. That's due tonight at 11:59 p.m. on eCampus. So please let me know if you have questions about that. And I know there's a quick turnaround from when you get your peer feedback to when you maybe implement that peer feedback. I'm sorry, but this is a super short assignment, so hopefully that won't be too much of a burden. And because it is a portfolio system, you can always implement that feedback, whatever you think is useful, a little bit later. So like I said in the last video, everything on Monday is going to be pushed back, and I'll keep saying that just to make sure you guys are not sending me confused emails about why we have homework on Memorial Day. You do not. So anyway, that's what we're working toward, though, is the midterm portfolio, which will be due on Tuesday now. Okay. So this will be pretty much of a short video because the proposal, there's not a lot of parts to it. There are those 6 steps, but I've already told you those steps, so I'm just assuming that you guys don't have questions about those unless you let me know. I'm doing my best to make sure I'm responding to your discussion posts if you do have questions. All right, so what we're going to do, which we didn't get in Tuesday's video, is I'm going to look at a couple of the sample proposals. Again, 3 of them are mine. I'm not going to look at mine because I want you to see like working examples of student papers. And then I'm going to look at the before version and essentially the after version to show you kind of the edits that I'm making to their papers. So these are what they turned in, I believe, before midterm. I edited them and I gave them back. At midterm, you will receive your grade for the course right now. So this grade can go up or down. Most of the time it goes up. But again, I will talk to you about that during the midterm video. If you have reservations or whatever right now, just shoot me an email and I will hopefully provide you with specific and comforting feedback. Okay, so this here is proposal 4 that's available on eCampus, but this is the edited version like I said. All right, so as you can see here, the student started out with a quote. I would highly recommend something like this. It just helps get the audience's attention immediately. And of course, he didn't have the source here, so he had it down here. If you're putting it up above the text, just have the source right underneath. And he had, of course, the character name, the movie title in italics, and then the year of the movie release. All right. So I took out this unnecessary part. If you are referencing a film or a TV show or movie, basically anything with actors in it, you put the actor's name in parentheses after the character name. That's just a rule for all film studies. A lot of you are writing about apocalyptic stuff and zombies, so if you do reference film or TV, you want to make sure you do that step. All right, so a lot of this is cosmetic, tiny edits just here and there. The comments are really what I'm stressing with you guys. So I already showed you an example of like the worst proposal I've ever looked at, and luckily none of your annotated bibs were even at that caliber, and so I'm assuming none of your proposals will be quote, the worst I've ever looked at, I will let you know immediately, and I will say, hey, what's going on, and let's get this fixed before it becomes a real issue. Okay, so a lot of it, again, is cosmetic. We can go through here, and again, this is available on eCampus, the final version. Some stuff here, just specifying who's speaking at the beginning of the sentence. So if I wrote introduce your source or introduction on your annotated bib feedback, or when you get the proposal feedback, that's what that means. It means put who's speaking at the beginning of the sentence so the reader knows who is speaking here. And you can just say in my study or in my paper, that's fine, but you haven't written the paper yet, so you're conducting a study first. You're circulating surveys, you're doing that step first. All right. So the one comment, and this was a really strong proposal, and that's why it's not completely red marked, but the one comment I said is he needs to expand this section. What's his other methodology? So again, you guys are only doing surveys. That is your methodology. You're circulating surveys via SurveyMonkey to 13 other students in an online section of English 102 at West Virginia University. And you can use that exact wording. That's fine. Be as specific as possible. So I said there's a good amount of research, which again, the research should go in the previous paragraph, and then your specific study and your methodology goes in the second paragraph. But then I said talk a little bit more about how your paper will try to account for these gaps in literature with real world perceptions. So a couple of you did a really great analysis of some literary texts. Unfortunately, that would be great for a literary class, but this is not a literary class. So you're wanting to make sure your writing is fitting within the genre that is being asked of you. So an annotated bib, you need to evaluate the sources and connect them to your research a little bit more. That connection section will actually be really pertinent in the proposal. So the connection, you need to connect what you have said in terms of the gap and the research in the previous paragraph to your more specific study down here. I know it's hard because you haven't done the study yet, you haven't even created the survey yet, just speculate at this point. So he intends to take this research further by surveying, and then I added the specific information here, the appeals of apocalypse stories and tying them to subconscious desires and implications. So these words, they sound kind of pretty, but they don't tell me a lot. So I would cut down a little bit on the research, or he has 242 words right now out of 300. He has space to elaborate on that. So I would just encourage him to leave what he has and just to elaborate like 3 sentences more here. One thing that he did, which is part of the reason I chose this example, is he included his annotated bibliography as part of the proposal. You should not do that. So as you can see here, I cut all of this. All right, so don't include that. I just want your little heading, maybe something to start off here. This is not necessary. It's just aesthetic or stylistic. Then you have the 2 paragraphs that are maximum 300 words. That's it. It should be very sparse and simple. All right, let's move on to the next version. So that was sample 4. This is his final version. If you want to check it out, it's obviously more developed. The annotated bib is gone, and then he has the title here now. You guys can have a working title. That's fine. It's not necessary because, again, there are a lot of ifs and things you have not done yet with your research. All right, the next proposal I'm going to show you guys, she did something very similar. So she had a quote that starts out here. Obviously, this is not Batman. This is Kennedy. And then a lot of this is, again, cosmetic. It just helps you with concision. So that occur on a daily basis. Just put daily up here. Daily amount of face-to-face interaction. So you cut out all of these words. Imagine if you get down and you're at like 308 words. This takes care of that. Okay, so I really want you guys to take this as an exercise in concision. And I already explained why in other videos, but it's not because I'm like a lazy instructor and I don't want you guys to go over the word count. It's because in most applications and most resumes, stuff like that you'll submit, people will stop reading. The typical reader is interested in something for about 7 seconds, so that's why I stress the hook and the introduction and brevity so much in this course, because in the real world, people will stop reading. If it's not interesting or if it's too wordy and confusing, they'll stop reading. So I want them to constantly interact with what you're writing by not having stuff like this in your writing, but having a more confident tone to your words. Okay. So again, some cosmetic stuff. Let's look at the comments, because the comments are where students actually do critical thinking and they actually are learning skills to take with them into other courses and into your majors. So do you mean here that you plan to do observations? How will you observe other people's use of technology? How might you interview a naysayer or someone pro-technology that would be more quantifiable? So again, here you don't have to worry about interviews or observations. If you feel up to the challenge, that's fine, but I'm not going to teach those, therefore I'm not going to require that you conduct them. If you are interested in them, you can shoot me an email and I will give you some stuff to read about that. But yes, for the purposes of this class, be specific with your survey information, but you don't need to worry about interviews and observations. All right, consider moving this information to the above paragraph when you're discussing different perceptions of technology there. Also, what counts as older and younger students. So a lot of this has to do with placement and specificity. So the background information, as I've mentioned probably 84 times by now, it should go in the first paragraph, okay? And then the second paragraph should be reserved for your study. So that way, then they should be kind of balanced so that you are accessing other people's words and then you are accessing your own words. So older and younger, put age ranges, put whatever to make it more specific. And I will explore the idea of a world without technology, as well as how difficult it would be for a university to function. And I said in your survey, how will you, quote, explore? So again, I am just a heckler for specificity, because it's easy to write a paper, again, at 3 a.m. The day it's due or the day before it's due, if you are writing these vague kind of filler, empty, or useless words. Like we said in the concision document, that's a lot of what these empty words are. So limit these because they don't add anything to your discussion. They make you sound less confident. All right. And the last two comments. The show Revolution investigates this as well. So if I see something or I've read an article or whatever that is relevant to your research, I'll be sure to add a comment about that. And then the last thing here is she had a fragment. So to truly answer the question to the idea Kennedy had, that the cell phone has the power to change the world. So she doesn't have a complete thought here. She has a subject, she has a verb, but the reason why it's a fragment is because it's an incomplete thought. All right, she has 268 words, and I'll go ahead and highlight these, and the word count starts at your title. So this stuff, the header doesn't count, so it starts here and it goes down. Again, you do not need to have a works cited for the proposal, because in real call for papers or in real abstracts, you wouldn't have a works cited because people wouldn't care. They would just want to know the names of the research and what you are proposing. All right, so that's pretty much it for this video. I just want to show you guys some more examples of how I've edited documents for students. Again, here is the end version. As you can see, oh, I think this is actually a different paper, sorry. So you have a couple more examples of proposal documents. So this one, yeah, I did work with a student as well, but he put pretty much all of the, again, the research in this paragraph and then moved on to his study here. But make sure you look at that concision document. This is really important. I typed it up specifically for this class, so I obviously want you guys to interact with it, print it out, check things off, see what is your what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses in terms of concision, because those things would be great to include in your reflective cover memo, which is coming up for the midterm. So for now, just make sure you complete discussion 8 and you turn in your proposal on time before 11:59 p.m. That portal will become available, and it's under proposals, just like Annotated Bib submission portal was under Annotated Bib. If you have questions about it, please let me know, and I'll see you tomorrow.